Well, actually, this when they approached me to do this project for their company, and they being the producers, and they basically telling me that the musicians that I was working with on the Cape weren't the musicians they wanted to work with. They didn't feel that they were adequate enough. And I was left with having to tell these musicians this. And I basically said, well, they're the producers. You know, they backed this project, they put the money up for it, and I basically said I want them to be able to make the decisions they need to make and want to make around it as far as that's concerned. So it wasn't as difficult as it could have been had it been solely my decision to do that. But it's always nice in decisions like that if you can blame it on your producers. It wasn't their fault. They made me do it, and I'm glad they did.
The next song we're focusing on is called Real World, and it's actually about a year ago right now that we were in the middle of final tracks and mixing for this record, and it had quite a story because it was the last tune to be finished. It had a solo section left empty for the longest time that I had tried a guitar solo in, acoustic, 12-string, nylon string. I tried a bass idea. We filled around with lots of keyboard sounds, slide guitar, organ, piano. We thought about bringing in a sax player. You know. And it really focuses Joe's playing. You're going to hear a guitar and vocal version of it just to give you a taste of the tune, and then it's going to go into some of the bass ideas. But he came up with such a signature bass part. It's kind of like Paul McCartney. You know, you can hear a really clever tune through the wall and say, "Oh, that's the Beatles." You know, that's McCartney, just from hearing the bass line.
Yeah, that's where picking your musicians that you're going to use is incredibly important in your project, because you could pick someone who would do a bass part that works, but the bass part that he put on there it just immediately, as soon as he played it, we said, this is the bass part for this tune. There was just no doubt about it. Like you said, a signature part.
So here's a piece of the tune.
Oh no, I don't know what I'm doing, and the ache inside.
And this was all he heard. This is what we gave him to come up with something.
It's hard to tell the salvage from the ruin. A twist of fate.
So how did you come up with this bass part, Joe? How did you come up with this bass part?
Don't remember.
It descended from the sky.
Yeah, I tend to not try to think too much. Seriously.
You can get to the point where you play instinctually. That's the goal.
I got this friend, he always keeps me laughing, till it hurts so bad I can barely see. He's always been my pillow when I'm crashing, when the rest of you.
Then the part gets left for so long, and you keep hearing it with all these wrong solos in it, and nothing sounds right. And it got down to the point where I was waiting for a call from Pat Metheny that I was supposed to go out on the road, and I knew we had to fix and finish these mixes before that happened. We were told we had to move out of the house. It was in the dead of winter, so we're all exhausted from shoveling snow and trying to deal with this. And then, you know, we'd been living together for like months and just getting on each other's nerves. And
then she goes and has a trip.
I'm going to Albuquerque, New Mexico. All the final mixing equipment has been rented. I mean, and we still have nothing for this
last part. It was just.
So the next.
Go ahead. No, it's all right. It's okay.
The next two things are just some of the stuff we saved and just threw on cassettes. All these things I'm playing you were just in the works cassettes that we're making month after month, just trying to work with and see what kind of ideas are coming up. And this was a guitar solo I did that I thought sounded a lot like Lindsey Buckingham, but Sarah and Cindy really thought it sounded too staccato and they didn't like it. But now we've got bass and drums together too. In all the funny solos many hours later, Susanna tried an organ solo. And then she just started wrecking it, you know, like, oh, this isn't going to be the one we wanted.
Yeah, towards the end she realized.
She just got silly.
I was listening to this particular one through the floor. I was upstairs, and I'm like, what are they doing down there? That was funny. It's like, my God.
So what Cindy finally came up with was the fact that this really wasn't a part that was supposed to be highlighted like a solo. We were treating it too traditionally, you know, coming from Berkeley. There's got to be a solo, you know. It was more of an
When
interlude.
nothing else works, you
Yeah.
come up with something.
Well, the arranger, the
Think of
expert
something.
arranger says interlude, interlude. So she came up with this cool descending line idea, and I thought it was perfect for Real World because it reminded me, again, of a Stevie Nicks tune where the whole tune just changes around and does something completely different. And it was like a mystery movie, you know, where you walk into a room and you just see a whole shelf, whole wall of books, and they know that there's a secret button somewhere. When you hit that button, the wall's going to turn around and there's going to be a whole other room, you know. So it was like all of a sudden the real world happened. But Sarah didn't like it for weeks.
No, it was hours. No, days. Days. Well, yeah, about a day or two that we sat with it. And I kept saying, well, try this, and maybe, you know, I want to hear more of this. But the thing about it at that point is that I had heard it so many times that I didn't know what I was hearing anymore. It gets to the point in the studio where you just don't hear it anymore, especially if you wrote the tune. It's like, you know, my ears were like shot.
So then she said, forget that, just do some slide stuff in there. I kind of liked that timbre of the slide eventually. So I started putting slide around the descending line. And she said, no, I think I just want slide only. And here you are again with only 8 tracks, you know, so we're going to do erase everything that's on there to try something else? We thought, no, this is cool, we should keep
And the clock is ticking.
Yeah, because we're supposed to be mixing, not worrying about what's going on in this next track.
I got this friend, he always keeps me
Fast forward.
See you,
See you
Bill.
later,
Thank
Joe.
you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Joe.
Hey Joe, where are you going?
Good luck.
Where are you going with that?
Then we decided to quote Amy Lennox. Yeah.
So it's almost like a solo section. You can create a solo section out of a few different instruments. It doesn't have to always be showcasing one instrument and one player. If especially in a project like this, when you're showcasing the song, the music, Sarah, you kind of create it's kind of a transitional space more than just a solo section.